The smell of cardboard and packing tape hangs heavy in the air, thick and suffocating. It's the official scent of an ending, I think. Nolan's side of the apartment is a collection of ghosts, empty spaces on the bookshelf, a naked spot on the wall where his favorite print used to hang, the hollow echo in the closet. My phone is still lit up in my hand, displaying the Instagram post from 3 days ago. It's a black and white photo of us on the beach in Lisbon, his arms wrapped around me from behind, my head thrown back in a laugh. The caption reads, "Some love is not meant to be forever." I thought it was artistic, poetic, even a performance piece. Now, the concerned comments from my friends feel like mocking whispers in a room where Nolan's silence is the only thing screaming back at me. I refresh his profile again, and again, nothing but the sterile gray text, "User not found." Nolan was a logistics manager. That title is so Nolan. Practical, steady, a man who believed in clear paths and predictable outcomes. His brain was a landscape of spreadsheets and contingency plans. Our trip to Lisbon. He had a color-coded itinerary that optimized walking routes between tourist spots and pre-booked restaurants. Our kitchen pantry is still organized with a label maker. He called it streamlining our domestic workflow. I, a freelance brand strategist, called it a charming quirk, took a picture for my story, and captioned it, "Help, I'm dating a Virgo." He never found those jokes as funny as I did. My life, or at least the version of it I presented online, was a carefully curated collection of moments. I wasn't just living, I was creating content. I'd drag him, grumbling, into the perfect lighting of a Sunday morning for a candid shot of us making coffee. I'd make him change his sweater because the navy blue looked better with my feed's color palette. I'd spin the sweet nothings he whispered to me at night into captions that dripped with effortless romance. He hated it. Genuinely hated it, with a quiet, simmering resentment that I chose to interpret as him just being camera shy. My friends, though, they ate it up. Our social circle was this weird, unspoken competition of curated happiness. Brunches were less about catching up and more about subtly interrogating each other about recent romantic gestures. Jessica's boyfriend just surprised her with a trip to the Cotswolds. Amelia's fiancé had commissioned a custom painting of their dog. It was a constant, low-grade pressure to perform, to prove that your life, your relationship, was just as cinematic. And for a while, Nolan was my unwilling but ultimately compliant co-star. But he had this line. This invisible fence I never really took seriously until I was on the wrong side of it. I remember about a year ago, we had a stupid argument because I made us 30 minutes late for a dinner reservation. The truth is, I was having a mini meltdown because the golden hour light was fading and I couldn't get a selfie I liked. After a tense, quiet dinner, I went home and posted a cryptic lyric from some sad indie song to my story. The next morning, he sat me down on the edge of the bed. There was no anger in his voice, just a heavy sort of exhaustion that felt much worse. "Me," he said, looking right at me, not at his phone or the TV, which was unnerving. "Our problems, they're ours. They happen here." He gestured to the space between us, "not out there." He waved his hand vaguely towards the window, towards the rest of the world. "I don't want to be a character in your story. I'm a person. This is my life too. It makes me feel, I don't know, not real, disrespected." I remember nodding, saying all the right things. "You're right, I'm sorry, it was childish." But deep down, a part of me was just thinking, God, it's just a song lyric. Lighten up. I tried to explain it away. "It's not about you, babe. It's just a mood. It's a vibe." I saw his boundary not as a line to respect, but as an overreaction, a quirk to be managed. I didn't understand that for a man like Nolan, a man of logistics and clear lines, that boundary wasn't a suggestion. It was a load-bearing wall. The whole thing started because of a birthday party. Not even my birthday, but my friend Jessica's. And it wasn't just a party, you know? It was an event. Jessica had rented out this ridiculously chic rooftop bar. There was a dress code, pastel glam, and a professional photographer. For a 30th birthday. It was the kind of event that was designed, from the ground up, to be photographed and posted. It was our circle's Super Bowl. I'd been planning for a month. I bought Nolan a new linen shirt in the perfect shade of sage green to complement my lavender dress. I even pre-wrote a caption in my notes app for the photo I planned to take of us, something about stepping into a new decade with my forever love. It was all set. My performance was scripted. Then, 2 days before the party, Nolan's company landed a massive, unexpected contract with a German shipping firm. A crisis contract, he called it. Something about a port strike in Hamburg. It meant he had to be on calls with Europe all weekend, at all hours. When he told me he couldn't make it to the party, I just short-circuited. "What do you mean you can't make it?" I asked, my voice already rising. "Esme, I'm so sorry. It's an all-hands-on-deck situation. My boss is flying in. I literally have to be in the office." He looked genuinely stressed, rubbing the back of his neck, his eyes already red-rimmed from lack of sleep. But I didn't see his stress. I saw my perfectly curated evening falling apart. I saw myself showing up alone, having to answer the inevitable, pitying questions. "Oh, where's Nolan?" I heard Jessica's voice in my head, dripping with that fake sympathy she's so good at. The shame of it felt hot and immediate. "So your job is more important than me, than my friends?" The words were out of my mouth before I could stop them. They sounded childish even to my own ears. "That's not fair," he said, his voice quiet. "This is my career. This is important. It's one party." "It's not one party," I shot back. "It's Jessica's 30th. I've been talking about it for weeks. You know how much this meant to me." He just looked at me, and for the first time, I saw that exhaustion turn into something else. Resignation. "I'm sorry, Esme, I really am, but I can't be there." I didn't talk to him for the rest of the night. The Cold War had begun. It wasn't about the party anymore. It was about the gaping hole in my perfect life narrative, and the humiliation of having to admit that my reality wasn't as flawless as my Instagram feed. The Cold War festered for 3 days. I was a ghost in my own home, haunting the rooms we had built together. The silence was an active, suffocating thing. It was in the absence of his keys hitting the ceramic bowl by the door, the lack of his heavy footsteps on the hardwood floor, the dead air where the low hum of the sports channel should have been. The silence was his weapon of choice, and he was an expert marksman. It was driving me insane. My group chat, however, was a cacophony of validation. I had given them the dramatic, heavily embellished version of events, painting myself as the heartbroken, neglected girlfriend. "Day 3 of the silent treatment," I texted into the void. "Literally feel like I'm disappearing." The replies were instantaneous. "OMG, Esme, that is actual emotional abuse," Jessica wrote back. "My therapist would have a field day with that. He's punishing you for having feelings." "Classic avoidance," Amelia added, with a string of red flag emojis. "It's what guys do when they can't handle a strong woman. You need to do something to shake him out of it. Remind him who he's messing with. Remind him who he's messing with." The phrase latched onto my brain. Amelia was right. I couldn't let him win this silent battle. I had to escalate. I had to use my own weapons. And my weapon of choice, my stage, my entire kingdom, was my Instagram feed. That's when the idea came to me. It felt brilliant in a sick, twisted way. It wasn't just about posting a photo. It was about taking something that was ours, something beautiful and private, and corrupting it into a public statement of my pain. A performance. I unlocked my phone, my heart starting to beat a little faster. I scrolled back through a year of photos, a digital history of our curated life. I swiped past the picture of us at the winery, too posed. The one from Christmas with his family, too public. I needed something that felt authentic to him to make the betrayal more personal. And then I found it, a picture from our trip to Lisbon. We were at the beach, the sun was setting, and he had come up behind me, wrapping me in a hug as I looked out at the water. My friend had snapped the photo from a distance. He was kissing my temple, and I was leaning my head back on his shoulder, a look of pure, unscripted joy on my face. It was one of his favorites. He'd had it printed and framed for his desk at work. He said it was one of the few pictures where we just looked like us. Perfect. I opened it in an editing app. My finger traced the curve of his smile on the screen before I tapped the edit button. I slid the saturation bar all the way to the left. The vibrant Portuguese sunset drained away instantly. The warm gold of his skin turned to ash. The brilliant blue of the ocean became a flat, dead gray. It looked like a photograph of a ghost, a memory of something long dead. Then I typed out the caption, "Some love is not meant to be forever." I stared at the words. They felt profound, heavy, like a line from a foreign film, giving my petty revenge an artistic gloss. My thumb hovered over the share button. A tiny, rational part of my brain was screaming, "Don't do it. This is the one thing he asked you not to do. This is his red line. Remember his face when he said, "I don't want to be a character in your story." But the louder, more seductive voice, the one egged on by my friends and my own wounded pride, whispered back, "He made you a character first." The pathetic girlfriend who gets ditched for a spreadsheet. This isn't for him, it's for you. It's for everyone to see that you're not weak. You're the one who gets to write the ending. I pressed share. It wasn't happiness. It was a jolt of pure adrenaline, the kind you get right at the top of a roller coaster before the drop. A feeling of terrible, undeniable power. The trap was set. Now all I had to do was wait for him to walk into it. I imagined his phone buzzing, his eyes widening in shock, the anger, the hurt. I imagined him storming into the guest room, demanding an explanation. Finally, we would have our scene. Finally, he would be forced to talk. The reaction I got was not the reaction I wanted. There was no storming, no shouting, no dramatic confrontation. Nothing. My phone started buzzing almost immediately, but it wasn't him. It was the likes, the comments, the DMs. Me no, say it isn't so. Thinking of you, honey. Call me if you need anything. His loss. I bathed in the sympathy for a few minutes, replying with single broken heart emojis. I was the tragic heroine. The performance was a success. But the one audience member it was for remained silent. I knew he'd seen it. I could see his Instagram handle pop up in the list of viewers on my story, which I'd conveniently plastered with the same photo. He saw it and he did nothing. Later that evening, he came home from the office. He walked in, dropped his keys in the bowl, and went straight to the kitchen to get a glass of water. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to watch TV, my whole body coiled like a spring. Here it comes, I thought. He walked into the living room, took a sip of water, and just looked at me. His face wasn't angry. It wasn't sad. It was blank, completely and utterly empty. Like he was looking at a stranger or a piece of furniture he no longer had any use for. He didn't say a word about the post. He just said, "I need to pack. I have to be at the airport by 6. "For the business trip?" I asked, my voice small. He nodded, still with that unnerving calm. "Yeah, for the trip." Then he went into our bedroom, not the guest room, and started packing. The quiet, efficient sounds of his movements were a form of torture. The zip of a suitcase, the soft thud of folded shirts, the click of a DOP kit closing. He was preparing for his trip with the same methodical calm he applied to everything else. The silence I had tried to shatter had just become denser, heavier. This wasn't the prelude to a fight. This felt like an epilogue. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of the front door closing softly. I stayed in bed, telling myself he was just going to the airport. The Cold War would thaw when he got back. He'd have time to cool off, I'd apologize, and we'd go back to normal. It wasn't until that evening, when I went into the closet to grab a sweater, that the reality hit me. It wasn't just a suitcase full of clothes that was gone. His entire side of the closet was bare. The neat rows of his shoes at the bottom, gone. His collection of watches from the top of the dresser, gone. I ran to the bathroom. His toothbrush, his razor, his ridiculously expensive face wash all vanished. The bookshelves, the kitchen cabinets, everywhere I looked, there were neat surgical holes where his life used to be. He hadn't just packed for a business trip. He had evacuated. And he'd done it with the quiet, devastating efficiency of a logistics manager moving product out of a defunct warehouse. No drama, no mess, just gone. Panic. Cold, gut-twisting panic. I grabbed my phone, my hands shaking so badly I could barely unlock it. I called him. It rang once, then went straight to voicemail. The generic, automated voice, not his. I called again. Voicemail. I sent a text. A single, desperate question mark. It showed as delivered blue, but there was no reply. I tried WhatsApp. Blocked. Instagram. Blocked. Facebook. Blocked. He had systematically, methodically excised me from his digital life. My world, which had felt so large and full of an audience just the day before, suddenly shrank to the size of my empty apartment. The silence was no longer a tactic in a game. It was a physical presence, pressing in on me, choking me. I started to hyperventilate, pacing the living room, my own footsteps echoing unnervingly. I needed an ally. I needed someone to tell me I wasn't crazy, that his reaction was insane. I scrolled through my contacts and landed on Olivia. Olivia was our friend. Not my friend, not his friend, but one of the few people who genuinely belonged to both of us. She was level-headed, no nonsense. She would understand. She picked up on the second ring. "Liv," I sobbed, not even waiting for her to say hello. "It's Nolan. He's gone, he just left." I poured out the whole story, but I curated it, of course. I was the worried girlfriend, mystified by his sudden, cruel disappearance. I conveniently left out the part about my friends egging me on, framing the Instagram post as a moment of artistic, emotional vulnerability. "I just posted this sad, black and white photo because I was so upset," I cried. And he packed his bags and vanished without a word. Who does that? I waited for the wave of sympathy, the "he's a monster" affirmations. Instead, there was a long, heavy silence on the other end of the line. For a second, I thought the call had dropped. "Olivia, are you there?" "I'm here," she said finally. Her voice was flat, tired. "Esme, honestly, what did you expect?" The question hit me like a splash of ice water. "What? What do you mean?" "I mean, you took the one thing he ever asked you to protect, your privacy, your relationship, and you turned it into a public spectacle for likes. You announced to the world that your love wasn't meant to be forever. He just believed you. But it was just an Instagram post." I wailed, the excuse sounding flimsy and pathetic even to me. "No, it wasn't," she said, and there was no malice in her voice, just a deep, profound weariness. "It was you, standing on a stage, pointing a spotlight at his deepest insecurity. You know how he feels about that stuff. You knew exactly what you were doing. You treated his heart like it was a prop in your personal melodrama, and he decided he didn't want to be in the show anymore. Can you really blame him?" The line went quiet again, but this time the silence wasn't his. It was mine. It was the sound of my entire self-constructed narrative, my entire victim-centric worldview, shattering into a million pieces. She was right. He wasn't the villain. I was. A month. It's been a month. The apartment is still half empty. I haven't had the energy to move my things into his vacant spaces. It feels wrong, like trying to colonize a crater. His absence is a physical thing, a constant, cold draft in every room. My friends have stopped calling as much. The initial thrill of the drama has worn off, and now they're just left with me, the sad, obsessive girl who talks about nothing else. My performance is over, and the audience has gone home. I found his new Instagram account last week. I had to. It was an obsession, a frantic late-night mission that involved digging through the followed by list of one of his distant cousins. It's private, of course. His username is just his first initial and last name. No clever wordplay. It's practical, efficient. It's so Nolan. The only thing I can see is his profile picture. It's small, circular, and utterly devastating. He's standing on top of what looks like a mountain, squinting happily into the sun. Beside him, panting with its tongue out, is a golden retriever. He never wanted a dog with me. He'd always said our apartment was too small, our lifestyle too unpredictable. In the picture, his arm is resting on the dog's head, and he's smiling. It's not a smile for a camera, not a curated, look how happy we are smile. It's real. It's the kind of easy, unburdened smile I haven't seen on his face in years. His new life has no drama, no captions, no filters, no audience, and no me. My life, the one I so carefully broadcasted, is now just this. Me in the dark, my face lit by the glow of my phone. I've created a fake account, a ghost with no posts and no followers, just so I can look at that tiny picture without him knowing. I refresh the page a dozen, maybe 100 times a day, hoping for what? A new picture. A glimpse into the life he's building without me. It never changes. It's just him, the dog, and the sun. A perfect, impenetrable circle of peace. I was the brand strategist. I was the one who was supposed to be the expert in crafting narratives. But he wrote a better ending than I ever could. He just deleted the main character. And now, the character is all that's left, trapped in the digital hell she built for herself, refreshing a blank page forever.